Hey everyone, we're going to go ahead and begin. Amy, thank you for that. It is the morning for sure, and I don't know how much my morning voice is going to hold out here, but we'll try the best we can. Hopefully you can hear me, and if you want to go ahead and open up the chat and add any questions, I will look at those questions after I finished, or showing y'all how to use Google Classroom at the intermediate level. And so we'll go ahead and start here. It looks like we have about 13 participants, so that's great. So we'll go ahead and begin. And so I'm going to take you back to my classroom that I've been using for a while now. And you can see in the stream, this is what yours will probably look like after you've worked with your kiddos for a while. You'll have all these assignments and announcements and so forth showing up in the stream. And I made two announcements just last night, and I logged into my demo student accounts, and I actually completed the assignments like a good student would. And so I'm going to show you those today and show you how to grade them. So one of those assignments that I made was a question. I'm going to show you how to make a question in just a minute. This question shows up right here, and it's just a simple question. It is, what is 8 minus the quantity of 4 divided by 2, end of quantity times 3. And so I can see that 5 of my students have turned that question in, and one of them has not answered that question yet. So if I click on the assignment, that will actually take me to the answers of what the students have answered. So it's great. It's really a nice way to kind of do like a formative assessment really quick, like an exit ticket or something. You may use this for just different reasons while you're online. If you're back in the classroom, it would really be helpful to use at the end of the day to see how your kiddos are understanding what you've just taught them. So over here on the side, this is where all of my students are, and all of these students have actually answered the question because it is green here and it's ready for me to put in the points that they deserve for answering the question. The points are up here. I could change that at any time if I wanted to. But I also want to point out this. This is sorted by status. I just realized I didn't have my video on, but that's okay. This is sorted out by status. And so I can click right here and I can change the status to sort by answer, sort by last name, first name, and so on. But I think it's pretty handy to sort it by answer, okay? And that lets you know which students in your classroom actually got the right answer. And if I did my math right, the answer is 18. So I can see that these 3 students right here got it right. These 2 students did not get it right. And so I need to do some extra help with them, give them some extra attention so they can understand what's going on. Then I have one student down here. This is a friend of mine. This is Josh Rayburn, great guy. He has helped me in this classroom before. He just didn't get the message that there was work to do, so he didn't do it. So that's okay. So I can go back up here to go to sort, and I'm going to sort by status. I'm going to show you something else here. If I click on the answers here, it will show me which students actually answered that answer. So if I click on 18, it shows me that these 3 students answered that as 18. If I click on 12, it shows me who answered that. Click on 8, it shows me who answered that. Now, the nice thing here is that, well, the other things that's really cool is that when you go back to, let me go back here to this. When the students have answered this question, they will see a graph that looks just like this. It won't tell them which answer is correct, but it will show them how many students in the class have answered the question in certain, for 6, 8, 12, and 18. So it looks like the majority here have answered 18. That will give them some kind of feedback, some kind of feeling of what the other students have answered, okay? They can't change their answer, but once they've answered, they can then see this graph, okay? So I'm going to go back to my grades here. I'm going to show you what that looks like now. So now I have all of these grades. Move that out of there. And you can see where these grades are. This is the question that I just looked at. It's waiting for me to put some points here, okay? And then I have something else to grade here. It's all green, ready to go. And then you can see that I have graded a lot of these assignments already, and they're showing up here. Now, a couple things to show you. If it's green like this one right here, and this one, and these, I haven't returned those to the students yet. And I'm going to show you how to return it. So far it's been graded in my class my Google Classroom gradebook, but it hasn't been returned to the students, so they don't know what the grade is yet. So I will show you how to do that today as well. Then the ones that are in black, those have already been returned, and so on. And then the ones in red are the ones that are missing, okay? They're past due, okay? So let's go back to classwork. And I'll show you where those assignments are. I can click right here for the assignment. The other one is down here, okay? So I'm just showing you different places where these assignments are showing up for you. So you kind of get a feel of, oh, in the stream, they show up at the top because they're the most recent. Oh, in classwork, they show up in my topics category at the bottom. Now, I can always move these around if I want to. I can just click and drag it up to the top. And now it's at the top. If you want to do things that way, that's fine. I want to keep it at the bottom because that makes me feel a little bit better. Okay. Now I'm going to go over here to people as well and show you a few things. Okay. Remember, we're grading today. I'm going to take you through the grading process, but I want to kind of orient you of how things look inside Google Classroom so that you understand where assignments are showing up. So let's go to people. Now, another thing that you can do is you can click on students and see how they're doing. So if you have a parent contact you and you're like, oh gosh, I really need to know how this student right here is doing in my classroom, you can go right here and click on that student. And you can see all of the assignments that that student has worked on and whether they have turned it in or not. So you can tell parents right now, it's on your screen, how they're doing in your classroom. It's really easy to look at. You can tell which assignments are missing, like this Flipgrid #1 assignment is missing. You can also talk about some of the assignments that they didn't do so well on. So for example, this one, what is your favorite ice cream? They got a 0. They got the wrong ice cream flavor wrong. How did they do that? I don't know, but that just happened. So that's something you can talk with your parents about. All right, so let's go back to my classroom here. And I'm going to go over to grades here and show you how to grade. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this assignment right here that we just talked about. So I can click on it here. There's just multiple ways of getting in here, people. It's okay. Just multiple ways to get here. So the correct answer was 18, okay? So I want to sort this by answer. And every student that got an 18, I'm going to give them a 5, okay? 5 points. Okay, really easy to do. Unfortunately, the students who didn't get it right, they're going to get a 0 today. And maybe I'll give them an opportunity to make that up because a 0 really hurts their grade, right? Just depends on how you want to run your classroom. Okay, now up here where it says return, I haven't returned any of these. So now I have all these students selected. Okay, let's go back to by last name. That'll look a little bit different for you. Josh hasn't done his, so I'm going to give him a little time to finish his. But I'm going to go ahead and return these grades right here. So I'm going to click on return. They're all checked by the student. Click on return. And then it just gives me a notification. Are you ready to return these? And I'm like, yes. And click return there. And now all of those have turned black, meaning that they have been returned to the students. Okay. All right, let's go back. Oh, you know what? I have something else to show you right before we begin. I'm going to go to classwork here. Before we get on to grades, I want to show you a couple things. Back in this create box, we didn't cover everything in the basic Google One session that we did yesterday, but there's a lot that we covered. You know, it's a growing process. You have to get in there a little bit, play with it, learn a little bit more, play with it, and so on. You can do a quiz assignment, and I'm going to click on that and show you what that looks like. So what this is just a Google form. So if you've used a Google form before and you've made quizzes, then this is something that you can deploy right through Google Classroom. And what's really neat about it is it has this button right here that is grade importing. When you have that turned on, right now it's turned off because it's over here to the left. When you turn it to the right and slide it to the right, it is turned on. When students have actually completed their Google form assignment, then that grade will actually go automatically into your grades for Google Classroom. It's really sweet. Now, there's a couple of caveats here. And I want to talk about those. Number one, when you're in your classroom, now this is not NTI, this is actually being back at school. When you're in your classroom, you can turn on locked mode on Chromebooks. And what that does is once they click on that form, that quiz to complete, then it will lock down their browser inside a Chromebook. It's really sweet. And they will see nothing but the question, and there's really only one way to get out, and that's to click an X to close the quiz. Now, if they close the quiz without completing it first, that means they're probably going to the internet to find some answer having to do with your quiz. And you will get a notification, you will get an email that says they have actually closed the quiz out. So then you know that that student is not doing what you have directed them to do, which is take the quiz, hit submit, and then continue on with their lesson, okay? So now, because they're at home, you do not want to turn this on, okay? Because they have to have a Chromebook to take it if you do that. And they may be working on mom and dad's laptop, they may be working on a phone, who knows what they're working on. There could be several devices that they could choose to work on. Maybe it's an old desktop that they have. And if they do, and you have this on, they can't take it. So we're gonna leave that off. Now, another thing to think about, this is a great time to do projects with your kids, have them create videos or do some other kind of project, maybe use Adobe Spark to show their learning, because if you're creating a quiz, there's no way to monitor what they're really doing. They could take a quiz and they can have another device out that actually, they can look up the answers on another device. We don't really know. They could have a friend there that's helping them. So what you need to do is make sure that you're doing projects and assessments that will actually, define something differently of how they learn instead of like a multiple choice question test. Now that may be good for formative assessment, but it's not good for summative assessment, okay? So that's just something to think about. Your kids have multiple devices at home. You can't really monitor how they're taking a quiz. Okay, so back to this. When you're creating a quiz assignment, then you can use this form right here. I can click on it. And I can just start, typing out some questions, and I can use this form right here. I can rename it. I can do all that, okay? And then that quiz is still attached right here. Now, if I don't want to use this quiz, then I can close that out. I can go to add. I can go to my Google Drive, and then I can search for a quiz, okay, inside my Google Drive that I have already created. And I think I have one called Math Quiz. So let's see if we can find that. Yeah, here's one right here. I was being silly. I called it with Jerry and Puppies. I don't know why I did that. That was a couple of months ago or whatever. But I can just click on that and I can add it. And now that quiz that I've already created is right there. Again, leave this off. That is only really for classroom use. And then I want to make sure that grade importing is actually selected, okay? Now I'm going to close that out. And again, once you have done it that way, over here in your grades, it's going to show up in its own column with all of the grades going in here automatically, which is really sweet. Okay, I'm going to go back to classwork, show you one more thing. Over here is question, and that's how I created that first question that I just showed you. I said something like, what is, I don't know, it was 8 minus the quantity of 4 divided by 2 times 3 equal to, I don't know, something like that. And what I did was I changed this from short answer to multiple choice. And then I just put the answers in here. The answers I chose, I think, were 6, 18, 12, and 8. Okay. And then when I was ready, I went over here, I chose my class that I wanted it to go to. I chose how many points I wanted it to be. I think it was 5 points that I chose. I don't think I did a due date. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Doesn't really matter. They still need to do it. I mean, whether there's a due date or not. And I selected math, and then I just went ask. Instead of actually assign, it's called ask because it's a question. Okay, and that's what I did. All right, I'm gonna close this out and let's go into grading. So now this is an assignment that I made. It's called COVID-19, a life changer, okay? Now, once you assign that assignment, the beauty of this is when you've attached a Google Doc, and we showed you how to do that yesterday, and we made a copy for each student, it shows you all of those icons which represent each student's paper. It's a beautiful thing, it's great. And it automatically names the assignment for that student's name. So if this was Jerry Broyles, it would show Jerry Broyles right here instead of this demo class that we have. Notice over here it says Josh Rayburn. They'll have their picture. If they have a picture uploaded, it'll also have their name. Okay. Over here, it's all in green, which means they have turned it in. And it tells me down here that they've turned it in. Notice Josh didn't get the message, so he didn't turn his in. So that's okay. I will work on Josh. Now, a couple things here that I want you to see. I can change the points here. Notice that this is not black, so I can't return any of them. Why? Because I don't have any grades yet. Okay. Now, another thing that you can do if we were back in your classroom, is that once you've made that assignment and you've given students time to work on it, maybe in class for, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, you can actually just click right inside this assignment like I'm doing right here, and you can see what the students are doing. You can see live what they're typing, if they're making any progress or not. It's all live. Now, since the student has already done the work and turned it in, nothing here is live. You don't see anything going on because it's ready to be graded. But if you were inside your classroom, you can just click that assignment like I just did, and you can get into that assignment and see what the student is doing. Now, that's a great way to have some intervention with your students who haven't started yet, or students who are maybe they got a different idea of what you were expecting and they went in a direction this way when you really wanted them to go in a direction this way, straight up. Okay, so let's talk about how we can grade now. Okay, it's a shift in how you can teach. It's a great way to get those kids who oftentimes have a hard time starting. You can get in there and see what they're typing and see if they're making any progress. Okay, so I'm gonna click on this one. And just kind of, to familiarize you with the interface and so forth, this tells me who the student is, the status, and I can move these arrows to go to the next student. So there's Google Classroom 2, go to the next student, and so on. It's really easy to go back and forth using these arrows, okay? Now, one thing that I really want to make sure that you're paying attention to here is that there's this drop-down arrow right here which really hides some things from you. And I trip on it all the time trying to figure out where is that icon. Click on that, and now you have some more options of how things look, and you get your toolbar, your ribbon back to where it's normally showing when you're in a Google Doc. Now that's important because I'll show you in a minute how you can comment. So over here, this is where we can grade what we have. I can add the grade here. I can add private comments here as well that the student will see when they look at their grade, okay? Over here is a comment bank, and we'll talk about that in just a minute, okay? Now, let's say that I'm reading through this. So it says, I've had so many things change in my life. When I went to shopping at the grocery store, we weren't able to complete our shopping list. The store was out of milk, hand sanitizer, toilet paper, and did not have much meat to choose from in the refrigerated section. My school has been closed for a week now, and we won't be returning to school for at least 2 weeks. I'm worried about my mom's job because she works as a waitress, and the state has closed all of the dining areas. I hope that life can return to normal soon. So it's a great little response. So I can make comments here, and that's what the kids are looking for. So I can do something like this. I can highlight this, my mom's job, because she works as a waitress. I'll highlight that. And then remember that button that I clicked on? I wanted to do that because when you click on that, it gives you this little comment feature. So I'm gonna click on comment and then click on comment again. And now I'm gonna make a comment, and I have this area highlighted, selecting it to let them know that I'm kind of referring to it. And I'll say something like this. I hope that all turns out well. Oops, let's spell. For your family We are experiencing that as well in our family. Okay. Now, so that's just a relationship builder comment right there. I can also go into here and I can make something about maybe one of these sentences is awkward, or maybe there's a grammatical error. I don't really see any right now, but I just want to do this as a demo. So maybe right here, instead of a comma, they should have chosen something else like a semicolon or something. So I can highlight that area. I can go up here. I also have this little plus button that is now showing up for me. I can click on that to add a comment, and I can say something like awkward sentence structure. And by the way, notice that this keeps popping up. This is part of my canned comments. So if I started out this way, I can go ahead and click on this. So now I'll take that out. Hold on a second. Oops, come on now. There we go. Now I can just use that canned comment and clean up what I have typed here, and then that's all in there. So now it says this sentence is awkward. Please change your structure. So I can click on comment. Okay, so it goes back to those canned comments when you're making a comment to try to make it a little bit easier for you. Okay, now I'm going to go over here and show you the canned comments as well. So all of these are comments that I've put in here that I've typed at one point. This is amazing. Could you help your partner at your desk? You know, fantastic work. Can you put an image in your document to help explain? You know, things like that. So it's really easy to do. I can just go right here to add to bank. And gosh, I am running out of canned comments to actually think of. I'm going to use something simple like check your spelling, because I don't think I have that one yet. So I can add that. And then anytime I want to use that, any of these comments, there's the three little dots that keep showing up. Those three dots are magical. So if you click right here, let's say I want to use check your spelling. I can click right there and I can copy it to the clipboard. And then maybe traveled is spelled incorrectly. I don't know if it is or not. I don't think it is. It looks right. But I'm just going to put that in there. And then I can do a Control V to paste that in there. And that's really easy to do. Okay, so those are going to save you a lot of time and frustration, you know, trying to get, you know, these graded, because it will take some time to grade. It always does. But you know what? These comments are worth it. They really like the feedback. The kids really thrive from getting good feedback. Okay, it helps them. It helps them grow. Now let's go back up here. We're going to go to grading. So I think they did a pretty good job. I might have a rubric or something that I'm looking at, or maybe it's just a, you know, how I interpret that they're doing as they're growing. Is this showing enough growth for them as they're improving their writing skills? So I think it is. I'm going to give them a 38. And I can add private comments right here. I can say something like, excellent job. Oops. Hang in there. Okay, I can do that. I can also go back to my canned comments. And if I wanted to use one of these, I would just go to the three dots like this, and I would copy to the clipboard, and then I go back. Now you have to go back in between these two. This is grading, this is comment bank, okay? And then I could just paste that in there, something like this. Okay, and I could get rid of the other comment if I wanted to. Now, when I'm ready, I'm going to take that out because it doesn't make sense to say all that together. I can go ahead and click post. Now, that has posted the grade to my Google Classroom gradebook. I have not returned it, and I have a little message here reminding me of that. But I'm going to return all of them together in just a minute. So I'm going to show you how that looks. So now I can go to the next student. Okay, so this is Google Classroom 2. I can go in and make some comments here as I want. They were taking a cruise. They were really bored. Good food to eat. Ship staff were nice. We did BART. Now at a U.S. Army base in quarantine. Food is not nearly as good, and I might miss my friends. Okay, so it looks like they're missing a period here. I can highlight that and say something like this, punctuation. And I can hit comment. I can also note something like the food is not nearly as good. You know, I can comment there. I can say something like, I miss Shake Shack burgers. Okay. So again, just a mix of relationship building comments and actual grammar and punctuation and building them as a better writer comments. Okay, then I can go over here, I can grade. I'm going through this a little bit quickly, I know. I want to make sure I can get to everything today. Then I can add a private comment. I'm going to go back to my comment bank here, click on it, and I'm going to say something like, fantastic work. Now copy that to the clipboard, and I can hit paste, and stay safe, and hit post. And then I can keep going through my classes. So this is, or through my, my students' work that they've turned in. So this is my third student here. I can read theirs. Again, I can grade it. I'm just going to put some grades in here just to show you how all this looks. And so there's the grade. Go back to my comment bank here. And I'll say something like, you really know your stuff. Paste it in there, post. And then go to my next student. I'll put their grade in. And they're going to get a 36. And I'll say something like, thanks for sharing. All right, I'll hit post. Go to my next student, and so on. Now, so I've graded 4 of those. So I'm just going to stop here. I'm going to go right here to return. And right beside it, you have return the submission or return multiple submissions. So I'm going to click on return multiple submissions because I want the ones, all the ones that I've graded to go ahead and they get that notification what their grade is, and they can see what their grade is. So I'll click on that, and it automatically chooses all the ones I just graded, and I click on return. And now they're going to see that score. They're also going to see that private comment I made for each one of those. And it is moving pretty slowly, which is really, it's usually not that slow. It's usually really quick, but that's okay. I got through it. Now I'm going to close this out, okay? And I'm going to go back to the grade book. Now notice all those grades are in here for me. Sweet. That's great. I can go back to my grade book. And now I can see those grades right here. Okay, we have about 2 minutes left. That's okay. We're heading into a help session after this, so we're all good. But I want to show you the last thing is about how to get these grades from Google Classroom into Infinite Campus. So right now, they're just right here in Google Classroom. There is no magic that we have to get them straight from here into Infinite Campus, okay? So this is how you do it. Now, this is a little tricky too. You have to go to the cogwheel to download these grades. It's not this cogwheel because this one takes you back into class settings, okay? It's not that one. So what you have to do is you have to click on an assignment. I'll click on any of these. And it's this cogwheel. You have to be in the grading part to actually be able to download the grades. Not just looking at the grade book, but actually actively in the grading section, okay? So click on the cogwheel here, and now it says download all grades as CSV. CSV is just like an Excel spreadsheet, okay? Or download just these grades. Well, I want to download all the grades. So I'm going to click on this. And then down here in the left-hand corner, it downloaded it right here for me. And I'm going to click on it to open it. And I have Excel on this computer, so it's going to open up in Excel. And if you notice, some of the columns are not sized right, and I hate to go through every single one and do this, you know, that gets really tedious and boring. I want to go right here and select the entire spreadsheet. It's this little corner right here. Select the entire spreadsheet, and then go in between 2 columns, and it goes to that symbol where it's like spreading it out, and then double click. And when I do that, everything sizes appropriately across my screen. Now, the ones in front, these assignments are older assignments. So I want to go ahead and hide those assignments. Okay, I'm not interested about them right now. I'm going to go to these newer assignments here and leave them open. So I'm going to hide these. I just selected all those columns, and then I do a right click and I go to, oops, I did not mean to do that. Let me select them again, do a right click, and then go to hide. And now all the columns and assignments that I have that are recent are right here, okay? And I want to look at those. Okay, now I can input grades one at a time from here into Infinite Campus. Now, another thing that may happen is that some students may have a hyphenated name that makes whatever appears in alphabetical order in Google Classroom may be a little bit different than what is appearing in your Infinite Campus gradebook. So maybe they have a hyphenated name like Santiago Cruz, or even my friend Paula Setzer-Kissick, and maybe it's not showing up the same way. So to move those kids around, you're just going to go to where their last name is, and maybe their last name is Zulu, because that's part of the alphabet, right, when you're speaking in military terms. So this is Zulu-Classroom 4, okay? So I'm going to just type their name in there, and now I'm going to select their entire row, and wait till it has that little move symbol, that little compass symbol, and then move that entire row down here. And then now I have a blank row. I'm going to click on it and do a right click and delete. And now my kids are in alphabetical order by last name. Okay, I can clean that up. That makes me feel better when I bold that actual row there. And now I can put my grades in because they're all lined up here like they are in Infinite Campus. Okay. So I'm going to minimize that, and I'm going to go back to my stream, and that is how you grade. So we're going to kind of wrap up this session and then head into our help desk session for intermediate Google Classroom. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, and we'll go from there.